VA in. And continue to have an external monologue because that is what I do. All right, we'll give it just one more minute to let everybody come into the Zoom. All right, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sean Stewart. I am the Therapeutic Recreation and Inclusion Coordinator for the City of Reno. We are here on behalf of the City of Reno, the VA Sierra Nevada Healthcare System, Renown Health, and the High Fives Foundation for our spinal cord injury lunch and learn. This is the monthly meeting every third Wednesday of the month. And right now, March's presentation will be from Victoria's Victory Foundation, a 501c3 nonprofit providing assistance with the day-to-day needs of someone living with a mobility-related disability. And I will turn it over to the Victoria's Victory Foundation right now.
Hi, everyone. I'm Susan Stover. I am the CEO of Victoria's Victory Foundation. And as Sean said, we are a nonprofit. We are based in New Hampshire. However, we serve the entire country. And our area of focus is providing Victory Scholarships, which is an application-based scholarship program, which we're going to talk about in depth today, to people with mobility disabilities. And our area of focus for our scholarships is to improve day-to-day needs, quality of life. There are so many great organizations, High Fives being one of them, Kelly Brush, challenged athletes that specialize in recreation, adaptive recreation. We really want to focus in on the needs of people at home that are going to enable them to get back to being within the community, possibly getting back to work, etc. So we'll talk about it in depth. I'm going to go ahead and put in my PowerPoint presentation so I can bring you through the scholarship program. And we've also provided a printout of all of the information we're going to talk about here today. So let's go ahead. Uh-oh, there we go. Why does it not want to doesn't want to share? You might end up having to, Sean, saying that it's blocking me. Let's see. Let's try again.
You might have to stare at the top of my head, but I'm going to make you a co-host.
Perfect.
And that should allow you to share your screen now.
Let's see. It does not want to let me. It might be on my end for some reason.
And I can pull up the backup.
Yeah, I don't know why, because it's in my full screen, but doesn't seem to want to show. How's that? Are you able to see it now?
Negative.
Okay. I love this part of the technology. Share screen.
It's okay. We all get a little bit of grace when it comes to the Zooms.
No, doesn't want to bring it up. General. Okay. If you want to share your backup, that's fantastic.
Absolutely.
Going through my system. If there's anything else I can turn off. Nope. There we go. Perfect.
And are you able to see that on your end?
I'm able to see it on my end. Perfect. So we can go right to the next slide, slide 2. And all we're highlighting in this slide are kind of the areas that Victoria's Victory Foundation focuses on. So does it want to move with you?
It's showing a different view.
There we go.
I'll just do it this way.
Perfect. So our Victory Scholarship Program is the main focus of Victoria's Victory Foundation, and we'll really get into depth in the next slide over the areas that we focus on for funding. But in addition, we also have education and advocacy programs that really focus in on access and inclusion. We have a peer-to-peer support program that we're building up for newly diagnosed or injured individuals to receive information from other people that have shared life experiences that can help them. As many people know, there is no manual given to you. So this is an idea of really bringing someone into your life that you can lean into and have some community support. And in addition, we do a caregiver program where we provide resources, direct people to other organizations doing great work, because the end of the day, it's often the family member that becomes a caregiver, and they too need to really care for themselves. So focusing on the scholarship program today, though, we can go into the next slide and we'll talk about the 4 areas of funding that we provide with our scholarships. We provide funding for activity-based training. There are numerous facilities around the country that provide this training, and this can be for anything for somebody that is, looking to regain mobility, continue their strength. We really believe that movement is where the magic is, and that it's very important to keep the body moving and help improve somebody's quality of life through activity-based training. With mobility equipment, a second area of funding, this really has a wide range in that it could be a custom wheelchair. As you know, insurance typically only covers a wheelchair every 5 years, which is a bit ridiculous when it's someone's day-to-day mode of mobility. You would think that they would lean in a little bit better, but since they don't, it may be assisting with a power chair, or it could be something more on the lines of a stander, or something that is going to adapt to a wheelchair to make it so that it can get over uneven ground better, a front wheel. Or it could be a monoski, get somebody back out onto the mountain if that was something, or to try it for their first time. Trexo rentals, anything that's going to enhance an individual's ability to have access and independence through their mobility equipment. Caregiver hours is another area that we provide funding for, because we understand that insurance often does not cover, or does not cover enough of hours needed. So we help with that. We partner with local organizations for people in their area of where they're living to find the best fit for them. And then last but not least, we provide home and vehicle modifications, whether that is putting a ramp on a house, widening hallways and egresses, lowering counter spaces, or adapting bathrooms. It could also be making an existing vehicle now be adaptive to be hand controls in it. And we have vendors across the country that we work with for this. We do not provide funding for wheelchair vans, but we do help modify existing vehicles. So those are the 4 areas of funding that our Victory scholarships are focused on for individuals. And if you want to go to the next slide, it just gives you an example of different areas that we've partnered with, training facilities that we've worked with. As I've mentioned, there's many adaptive activity-based training centers across the country. Also, we have relationships with companies such as Mobility Works that has many locations that can help adapt vehicles, etc. So this just gives you an idea of where we have funded over the past 5 years. And we look forward to expanding this so that soon the map will be all pink and there'll be somebody receiving services and support from us in every state. We do only fund in the United States, but we are not, there's no area that in the United States that we won't consider. If you'd like to go to the next slide, do you want me to give you a ding, ding? This slide simply points out when we get there, just the areas for how we have funded. 48% of our recipients have a spinal cord injury, 13% have CP, 11% are traumatic brain injuries, 6% are people living with transverse myelitis or ADEM, 7% are stroke survivors, and 15% are other diagnosis or rare disease that impacts somebody's mobility. In this other, in the round circle, you can see kind of where most of our funding has been allocated to. We do quite a bit of hours for activity-based training. I think that that's just very natural in that somebody is at a training facility and they'll be talking to somebody within the community at that training facility and explaining how they got their hours covered through a Victory scholarship, and then the next person might apply. In many states, these activity-based training hours are not covered by insurance because they are not traditional PT hours. There's no end point typically. So therefore, insurance companies don't necessarily like to fund it because they like a very clean model, whereas we're working on the advocacy side to really help educate these insurance companies that if they were to look at all of the benefits for somebody that is in activity-based training and look at long-term the health benefits and how that could help with possibly fewer equipment needs later on, fewer health issues later on, it would benefit them to pay for the activity-based training. But until that becomes a standard and a norm for insurance companies, we'll help with that. And then you'll see the in-home nursing services or caregiver hours, mobility equipment and services. And then lastly, we just look at what the age range is. And our recipients really are from age 1 up through age 77. Does not matter where somebody is in their journey. We have recipients of all ages. So what I thought I would do for you next is kind of dig into how to apply for a Victory Scholarship. We happen to have a scholarship cycle open as we speak, so you can learn all the information about it at victoriasvictory.org/application. And what you will need in order to apply is financial information. So we will be looking for the past 2 years of W-2s or other proof of full household income. We will be looking for a letter of recommendation for the service being requested, or if it's a product quote for, say, a Stander or Trexo, etc., from the vendor that it's being requested from. And if there's a doctor's recommendation or a trainer's recommendation that comes with it, we encourage somebody to submit that. But we will need a quote that is specific to the equipment that somebody is applying for. We also ask for a character reference. One of the things that we feel is very important is a can-do attitude. And we really want to support people that are really looking to dedicate their energy to their recovery process. So looking for a letter that speaks to that in a person, whether it's coming from a PT, an OT, a teacher, a coach, that anyone that's not a family member, and really addresses the personal drive of the applicant. Also, we'll be looking for a photograph of the applicant. Now, our application is all done online. We need to do this from a legal perspective so that everything is handled in a third party, and therefore all of the information is protected through our software. We use Foundant as our software. So what will happen is anyone that's applying will go to victoriasvictory.org/application. They'll click on Start Application Now, and they'll set up a profile in their portal. I do highly recommend for anyone that is working in the portal to make sure they save as they go through each section, so that, you know, if you lose internet connection or anything, that it does not get lost along the way. All applicants must be U.S. citizens, and they must reside in the United States. So even if it's somebody that's a U.S. citizen that happens to be living in Italy, they must be currently living in the United States to be eligible. The product or the services that are being requested must also come from the United States. The applicant must have a mobility disability that's caused by an injury or diagnosis. That is our area of focus. And if someone has received a Victory Scholarship in the past 6 months, they are not eligible to reapply currently. So it's an every 6-month cycle that they could apply. One thing that's very, 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 very important to note is that we do not pay for medical expenses, and we do not pay for any products or services that have already been received or rendered. So we will not do a retroactive payment. If you went to activity-based training in February, we're not going to pay that invoice. We will only pay for things that are ahead, or products or services that we will order. So if you want to go to the next page, I can just give a quick overview of the pieces in the application that you'll be looking at. The qualifications, obviously, please answer all the questions truthfully. If you don't qualify currently for a scholarship, please don't continue with the application, because it won't make it past the first vetting round to even make it to the committee. So it's important to make sure you meet all of the qualifications. We don't want you to spend all this time if you do not. The application information in part 2, these are general questions: applicant's name, age, contact information. We also do ask for any social media handles that somebody uses: Instagram, Facebook, etc. Part 3, we would like to know about your injury or diagnosis information. The more the applicant is willing to share here, the better. We would love to, really understand the level of injury, the detail around that. Is it a burst at your C5, whatever that is, telling this information is very helpful to the committee. And this, all of the information goes on to a committee, which I'll talk about after. So the more we understand about your story and about you, the better. Services or product that is needed. So in the application, there is the ability to apply for either a service or there's the ability to apply, and that would fall in activity-based training would be a service, or if there's an intensive, or if there's a camp, that all falls under a service. And then there's product. That is where you would have mobility equipment, anything to that effect. So you simply click that to be brought to the right application. Then moving on to the next slide, what you'll find in part 5 is what we call the supplemental information. It talks about anything from funding that you've received in the past, anything that you're doing to raise funds either through other applications. We would love to know other applications that you're currently applying for, because we have a lot of partnerships with other organizations in this space, and we would call them and say, hey, is this something that we could fund together for Joe? That type of thing. So the more we know, the better. Also, we'd love to know about any GoFundMes you've done, or if a local Elks has given money, etc. Because one, it helps us see how committed you are to your own fundraising, but also it helps us in the event that we're able to make recommendations to you of other places to look for more funding. And if we know what you've already done, we won't waste our time telling you about things you already know about, but we might say, hey, have you talked to your local Elks, etc. So that's what's the supplemental information is. This is where the character reference would also be used and uploaded. Part 6 is hospital or medical information. This is to let us know if you're currently in the hospital, if you had been, if you had a 6-month stay, a 6-week stay, any of the background that's pertinent to your injury or diagnosis is helpful here. Same part 7. We would like to understand any rehab that you have done, that you're currently doing, if it's applicable. Also, any physician information, any information that is pertinent to things you can or cannot do. This is where you would upload this in part 7. Moving on to the next slide. Part 8, the financial information. So we're looking for total household income, and that's the sources of income for everyone that's living in the household that's contributing to the care of the individual. And we do ask for your own security as well as our liability that you redact all social security numbers from any documents you're uploading. Okay, but we would like any W-2s or other financial documents that are applicable. They would go in this section. Part 9, military service, whether it's current or past. And it's absolutely not, somebody doesn't have to have served. We would just love to know. And then part 10, this has miscellaneous questions, a few additional questions here. This is a great place that anybody that wants to tell us more about their story, tell us about a victory, tell us about a challenge, etc. This would go there. And this is where the applicant's photo would be uploaded. What's also very important to know is that we do need to be able to directly correspond with the applicant. So what we've seen sometimes in the past is somebody may be in the hospital and it's their PT that's helping, or their OT that's helping with the application, and then they get discharged and they're no longer in touch, and now that recipient is kind of left hanging because somebody might have filled out the application for them, but we are not contacting. So we need to be in direct contact with the applicant. The final step of the application process is there's some check boxes acknowledging that you understand the fact that we don't pay for anything that's been received or rendered in the past. Also, that an applicant understands we never pay an applicant directly or a recipient directly. We work with vendors only, and we pay the funds for any application that's been approved. We only pay the funds directly to the vendor. So these check boxes come up. We also have a checkbox saying you don't need to contact us. We promise we'll be in touch. So there's no need to call and email upon submitting the application. So what happens once you've submitted the application? If you want to go to the next slide, the review process. We have an entire scholarship committee, and it is made up of people with lived experiences. It is made up of people that are professionals within this space. It is made up of board members who also have their own recovery journeys. It's made up of a very large group. And what happens is we have a staff that works on going through the application to make sure all the pieces of information have been included. If anything is not included once the application has been submitted, it automatically becomes null and void. So it's very important upon submission that somebody is checking off every box and making sure their financials are updated, their picture is uploaded, their character reference, etc., their product quote, so that application will be accepted. It's then gone through to make sure all of the information is accurate, and then at the end of what we kind of consider step one of the vetting process, it goes on to the committee. The committee has a 2-week review process that they go through. And the first process takes a good week to 2 weeks. So it's overall, the review process is anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks. We're very clear with our deadlines, and we're very communicative. If anything gets held up along the way, we make sure to reach out and say, just to let you know, we will be sending notifications at the end of July, etc. This current application process is open through Friday, April 28th at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so 2 p.m. Out where you are. And then from there, it would go into phase 1, and the applications will be reviewed over the month of May, and by mid-June, we will notify all applicants. Now, we notify all applicants whether they've been accepted or denied. So either way, they learn of their scholarship status. If someone is approved, there'll be communication directly with the team from Victoria's Victory Foundation. And from there, they will receive a very detailed agreement letter. The agreement letter shows the funding that's being received, how it's to be applied, when it has to be used by, and the recipient is to sign that letter, go back into their portal where they did the application, and upload that signed document. From there, they will make arrangements. There'll be one-on-one contact with somebody from the scholarship committee team to be in touch about if it's equipment, how it's being ordered, if they're going to training, how they're going to communicate this at the facility. And at that point, the recipient becomes a member of the VVF family. And it's not just that we hand off a scholarship and say good luck. We're here to be part of your team. We're here to be a part of your support, and we'll be checking in along the way. We ask that you send pictures and videos. We love progress. We love to hear challenges. We love to see if we can connect you with other recipients. And so it becomes an ongoing relationship, not just a one-off deal. And so that is our Victory Scholarship program and process. on this information, this just shows you my contact information, although we do ask everything for scholarships goes to scholarships@victoriasvictory.org. But then another great way to keep in touch about when our scholarship process is open, when we have an application cycle, we use our social media, our Instagram and Facebook, and our LinkedIn to communicate all of that. So following Victoria's Victory Foundation on those social media sites is a great way to keep up to date with our whole application cycle. So I've talked at you a lot. Now I'm happy to take any questions if there's any. There's anything I can clarify about the program or examples I can give you, I'd love to.
Susan, I'm interested if you could describe a little bit about where your name came from.
Sure. So Victoria's Victory Foundation, the name Victoria is actually a person. Victoria Arlen is a young woman who at the age of 11 was a healthy young girl. She's a triplet. She and her family had just come home from a trip from Disney World, and she started not feeling good, and literally her body started to shut down. From there, and I'm going to give you the really abridged version, she went into a vegetative state. And what's different about a coma versus a vegetative state is the person that's in the vegetative state is conscious of everything that's happening outside of them. They call it locked in. And so she could hear all the doctors saying, we don't know what's wrong with her. She'll never recover. At this point, she had lost her ability to eat. She had lost her ability to communicate. She was having myoclonic seizures, and she had lost her ability to walk as well. Fast forward through a 4-year journey in this locked in state. Her parents on numerous occasions were told to just give up, that she was not going to ever recover. And they chose to bring her home, care for her themselves as much as they could. And after 4 years, she was able to communicate through blinking to let her mom know that she was in there. And she started to come back. They had just started to realize and had done a very kind of heavy steroid program that started reducing swelling that was happening in her brain and her spinal cord. And eventually she was given the diagnosis that she had transverse myelitis and ADEM. And one is the swelling of the brain, one is the swelling of the spinal cord. And as a result, it left lesions on her spinal cord, leaving her with paralysis from the waist down. Well, Victoria came back. She learned to eat. She learned to talk. She learned to read, all of the things again. And at this point, she was almost 16 years old. So she became very active with an organization here in New England called Northeast Passage, started doing sled hockey. And as she got more involved with sled hockey, the coaches said, why doesn't she get back into swimming? And two of the triplets actually had thrown her into a pool and made her learn to swim again. And so she started training, and she went into the London Paralympics, where she won gold, 3 silvers, and broke a bunch of world records. And upon doing so, she was nominated by ESPN as one of the best comeback athletes. She went out to the ESPYs and created a relationship with ESPN, and they actually hired her as a correspondent. She was in her wheelchair at this time, but behind the scenes was training through Project Walk out in Calabasas. And when she was in Calabasas, her mother decided to open a facility on the East Coast, Project Walk Boston. So she continued to train, and Victoria regained her ability to walk. She has gone on to be on Dancing with the Stars. She can be found on Sports Center, doing a lot of the Special Olympics with ESPN. And along the way, along this recovery journey, her and her mother saw the disparity, the needs, and they decided that while they had opened, while Jacqueline, her mom, had opened Project Walk Boston, that was great for the activity base, but she could see there were people that couldn't get here because they didn't have a caretaker to bring them, or they didn't have a vehicle that they could get there from. So she decided to start Victoria's Victory Foundation to provide these services and needs. And that's how Victoria's Victory Foundation came about. We're founded in August of 2017. And so we're going on to our 6th year of serving in this space.
You've done a lot of work in that short amount of time.
We've tried. We've created some wonderful partnerships. We've learned from other really amazing organizations like the High Fives Foundation, like Kelly Brush, Challenged Athletes, etc. And it's been great to partner. Northeast Passage, they're amazing. And so yes, and it was the decision to help people in their everyday needs, because we felt like there were so many organizations doing so much great work in the adaptive recreation space. Let's look at the everyday needs of people. And so that's where we're focused.
And we were talking about that before we got on the call. That's wonderful.
Ah, well, thank you.
I'm looking at the chat online. As of now, there are no questions online. Do we have any questions in the room? And Susan, we have your contact information. If we have some questions.
Yes, all on the back of that slide. So yes, and everything can be found on our website. All of the information we talked about today, the application is there as well. And like I said, we'd love for you all to come and follow us on social media so you can see other wonderful stories of victories and support, as well as learn about any of our application cycles.
Well, great. Well, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank
I have
you.
a question if you have a moment.
Yes.
Hi, I'm a patient. I got injured on March 20th.
Okay.
I injured my spinal cord. Was kind of I wasn't able to move basically anything after my surgery. They brought me right in. I was a groomer up at Sierra at Tahoe.
Okay.
And I hit a stump underneath the snowpack as I was pushing full speed, and ended up going headfirst into the windshield, which ended up resulted in me having my C2 to my T2 fused.
Okay.
Surgery went really well. I've been in renowned rehab since then and made great progress. I wasn't able to basically move anything at that point when I came in, and as of now they have me on a walker. I've gotten past the vector, like past all of the parallel bars, and now working on my coordination, spasticity, and to get right. But I do live in South Lake Tahoe, and I was wondering what would be like the process of getting me. I'm a lifelong snowboarder. That's mountain biker. What I kind of came to Tahoe for in 2008, and haven't stopped doing until possibly now. And I wondering like what would be the process?
Supporting through all of the process of getting you back on the mountain, because that they are big believers, especially if you are a lifelong snowboarder. There's no reason not to continue that. And I am so impressed with your recovery thus far. And it really speaks to just getting right back at it, because a body in motion stays in motion. So I'm so thrilled to hear that for you. But we're happy to connect you. But High Fives Foundation is a perfect connection for you, for sure.
Well, thank you very much.
I'll work with your recreation therapist, Megan, who's on the call too. And I might be in on Sunday as well to talk to you.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
So don't say your name, but I will see you soon.
And feel free to reach out to us and keep in touch with us and let us know how we can help in your journey as well, please.
Thank you so very much. I really
Yes.
appreciate it.
Well, great work to you. I can tell
Thank
you're
you.
very determined, and that's
Yeah.
amazing.
Every day
Yes.
get better.
Good for you.
Well,
Thank you.
thank everybody for their time and for their attendance and all the future attendees for the recorded video.
Thank you so much for having us. We're honored to be able to tell everybody, but the more people that know about us, the more people we can help, and that's what we're here to do.
Great. Well, thank you, Susan. I appreciate your time.
Thank you so much. So nice to meet you all virtually.
Nice to meet you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.